What would you do if someone asked you to kill them, and you both agreed? This isn't a movie. This isn't fiction. This actually happened. In 2001, in Germany, a man named Armin Meiwes went online with a request that would shock the world. He wasn't looking for a date. He wasn't looking for friendship. He was looking for someone willing to be killed and eaten. And unbelievably, someone said yes. Armin Meiwes lived a quiet, isolated life. To his neighbors, he seemed normal, polite, reserved, the kind of person you would never look twice at. But behind closed doors, he harbored a dark and disturbing fantasy, one that had been growing inside him for years. He began posting online and forums, searching for people who shared his extreme desires. His message was clear, direct, and horrifying. He was looking for a well-built young man who wanted to be slaughtered and consumed. Most people who saw the post thought it was a joke or something sick and unreal. But then one man responded. His name was Bernd Brandes. Bernd wasn't forced. He wasn't tricked. He wasn't kidnapped. He willingly contacted Armin, and over time the two began communicating. They discussed everything in detail. What would happen? How it would happen? There was no confusion, no misunderstanding. They both knew exactly what they were agreeing to. Eventually, Bernd traveled to Armin's home. Think about that. He walked into that house, knowing he would never leave. When Bernd arrived, everything was documented. Armin recorded the entire encounter on video. What followed was something so disturbing, it's hard to even comprehend. They spent time together. They talked. They prepared. And then Bernd asked Armin to go through with it. What makes this case so chilling is that it wasn't a sudden act of violence. There was no struggle, no attempt to escape. Bernd consented every step of the way. After the act was carried out, Armin did something that would make this case infamous across the world. He consumed parts of Bernd's body, and in the days that followed, he continued living in that house, holding on to a secret that would eventually shock the entire world. For months, no one knew. Life outside went on like nothing had happened. People went to work. Neighbors walked by. Everything looked normal. But it wasn't. Because online, Meiwes didn't completely stop. And that would become his downfall. At some point, another user came across his posts, and something didn't feel right. This didn't sound like fantasy anymore. It felt real. Authorities were contacted, and once police began investigating, everything started to unravel. When they searched his home, they discovered video recordings, detailed evidence, and proof that confirmed something almost impossible to believe. He was arrested, but what happened next was just as shocking as the crime itself. Meiwes didn't try to deny it. He didn't resist. He confessed, calmly, clearly, without hesitation. And that's when this case took a turn that would divide people all over the world. Because the real question wasn't just what happened, it was whether this was legally murder. If someone agrees to their own death, does that change the crime? The defense argued this wasn't a typical killing. They said Bernd Brandes was fully aware, fully willing, and in control of his decision. But prosecutors saw it very differently. They argued that no matter what, taking a life crosses a line that cannot be justified, that there are limits to consent. And this went far beyond them. The court struggled. At first, Meiwes was convicted of a lesser charge because of the role consent played in the case. But the public reaction was immediate and intense. People were outraged. The idea that something like this could happen and not be treated as full murder didn't sit right with many. It sparked debates everywhere. across countries, legal systems, and moral boundaries. So the case was brought back, and this time, the outcome changed. Armin Meiwes was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison. Even now, years later, this case is still talked about, still analyzed, still debated, because it forces you to confront a question most people never expect to answer. What role does consent really play? When it comes to life and death, can someone truly choose something like that? And if they do, does that remove responsibility from the person who carries it out? Or is there a line that should never be crossed, no matter what? This story isn't easy to process. It's uncomfortable. It's disturbing. And it challenges how we think about right and wrong. But that's exactly why it stays with you. Because at its core, it leaves you with a choice. If you were in that situation, if someone sat in front of you, fully aware, fully willing, asking you to do the unthinkable, what would you do? Would you walk away? Would you try to stop them? Or would you believe their choice makes it acceptable? Take a moment and really think about it, because there isn't a simple answer. And maybe that's what makes this case so terrifying.